Claire lived a life cloaked in sadness. Every day felt like a heavy cloud hung over her, blocking out any rays of hope. Her world was painted in shades of gray, and joy seemed like a distant memory. Years ago, a drunk driver took her parents. The accident left a scar on her heart that never healed. The memory of that fateful night haunted her dreams, turning them into endless nightmares. Now, she lived with her aunt, a woman with a heart as cold as a January blizzard. Her aunt's house was a place devoid of warmth and affection. School offered no escape. Claire found herself the favorite target of Darcy, a bully with eyes like ice and a laugh that could curdle milk. Darcy's cruelty knew no bounds, and Claire felt trapped in a cycle of torment. Each day was a struggle. The weight of her loneliness and the constant bullying made every moment feel like an uphill battle. Claire felt like she was drowning in a sea of despair. Claire wished for a friend, for someone to understand her. She longed for a connection, a bond that could pull her out of the darkness. Her diary became her only confidant, a place where she poured out her heart. She wished for a way to make Darcy pay for her cruelty. The anger inside her grew with each passing day, fueled by the relentless bullying. She dreamed of a day when she could stand up to Darcy and reclaim her dignity. Most of all, she wished for the pain in her heart to disappear. The ache of losing her parents and the constant feeling of being unloved weighed heavily on her soul. She yearned for peace, for a moment of respite from her suffering. Little did Claire know her deepest desires were about to be answered. An unexpected encounter with a mysterious force would soon change her life in ways she could never have imagined. But be careful what you wish for, because sometimes the things that go bump in the night are the answers to your prayers. And those answers might come with a price that Claire was not prepared to pay. One gloomy afternoon, Claire stumbled upon a peculiar antique shop tucked away on a forgotten side street. The shop seemed almost invisible, blending into the shadows of the narrow alleyway. The musty smell of old books and the eerie silence drew her in like a moth to a flickering flame. As she stepped inside, the creaking floorboards echoed her every move. Dust-covered treasures filled every nook and cranny. Each item seemed to whisper stories of the past, tales of forgotten times. A chipped porcelain doll stared at her with vacant eyes. Its presence was unsettling, as if it held secrets of its own. A tarnished silver locket hummed with a faint, unknown energy. Claire could almost feel the history it carried, the lives it had touched. And then, she saw it, the wish box. It was nestled among other forgotten relics, almost as if it was waiting for her. It was smaller than she imagined, crafted from dark wood and etched with strange symbols. The carvings seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. An inexplicable pull drew her to it. Her hand moved almost on its own, reaching out to touch the box's smooth surface. Claire knew, with a certainty that chilled her to the bone, that this box held the answers to her deepest desires. She could feel its power, a promise of something extraordinary, something life-changing. Claire brought the box home. Its presence filled her room, whispering promises of power. She hesitated at first, fear battling with the simmering resentment she harbored towards Darcy. That night, Darcy's taunts echoed in Claire's mind. The memory of her parents' accident flashed before her eyes. Anger, raw and consuming, filled her. Claire knew what she had to do. With trembling hands, she whispered her desire into the box. She wished for Darcy to experience the same pain she had felt, the same crushing loss. As she closed the lid, a cold wind swept through her room, leaving behind the unsettling scent of decay. Section 4. The Ghastly Aftermath. The next morning, the school buzzed with a chilling rumor. Darcy was gone, vanished. Her locker stood open, her belongings untouched. A wave of nausea washed over Claire. Had she caused this? Days turned into weeks, and still, there was no sign of Darcy. The whispers followed Claire, accusing eyes watching her every move. Guilt gnawed at her conscience. The box, once a source of hope, now felt like a curse. Then, the nightmares began. Visions of Darcy trapped in darkness, her screams echoing in the silence. Claire couldn't escape the horrifying realization that she had unleashed something sinister, something far beyond her control. Section 5. The Price of Wishes. Driven by fear and remorse, Claire returned to the antique shop. The old shopkeeper, his eyes filled with a knowing sadness, listened to her tale. He spoke of the box's dark magic, of the price that always accompanied a wish granted. "The box feeds on despair," he warned, his voice a raspy whisper. "It grants your desires, but twists them for its own sinister purpose." Claire's blood ran cold. She had condemned Darcy to a fate worse than death. Worse, she had unleashed a malevolent force into the world, a force that now held her captive in its web of terror. Section 6. Trapped in a nightmare. Sleep offered no escape. The nightmares intensified, pulling Claire deeper into a vortex of fear. The box called to her, its whispers promising to right her wrongs, to ease her guilt. But she knew better. Each day brought fresh horrors. Objects moved on their own, shadows danced in the corners of her vision. The air grew heavy with the stench of decay, a constant reminder of the darkness she had unleashed. The world around her was unraveling, and she was powerless to stop it. The wish box had granted her desire, but at a cost too terrifying to comprehend. Section 7. Whispers of Warning. One night, a voice broke through the darkness, shattering the eerie silence that had settled over the house. It was Darcy, her voice a hollow whisper, begging Claire to help her, to free her from the endless void. Her words were filled with a desperation that sent chills down Claire's spine. "Don't trust the box," she warned, her voice echoing in the stillness of the night. "It holds a darkness that feeds on your fear, your despair." Claire felt a cold sweat break out on her forehead. The box with its eerie glow seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy. "It feeds on your fear, your despair," Darcy had said. Claire wanted to scream, to block out the horrifying pleas that echoed in her mind. But she knew that screaming would do no good. It would only feed the box's insidious power. But deep down, she knew she couldn't ignore Darcy's warnings. The fear in Darcy's voice was real, and Claire couldn't shake the feeling that something terrible was about to happen. The question was, could she find a way to defeat the box's evil without becoming another victim of its insidious power? Claire knew she had to try, but the path ahead was shrouded in darkness and uncertainty. The box sat on her nightstand, its dark presence a constant threat. It seemed to watch her, waiting for the moment when her resolve would falter. Claire knew the battle had just begun. She steeled herself for the fight, determined to uncover the secrets of the box and put an end to its reign of terror. And she feared that in the end, the only thing she could wish for was her own oblivion. The weight of the task ahead pressed heavily on her, but she knew she had no choice but to face it.